We are talking about the latest Nicolas Cage weird movie experience, this one being Willy's Wonderland, which was originally made as Wally's Wonderland. This one is directed by Kevin Lewis. Now this is clearly influenced by the video game Five Nights at Freddy's, which interestingly already had a kind of imitation movie with the Banana Splits movie, which is very, very similar to this. But this one, if you can believe it, gets even weirder. So this one, as I say, stars Nicolas Cage, and he plays this drifter whose tyres blow out on the road one day, and he has to kind of get its car repaired, etc. But he can't afford to pay for it, so he agrees to work off his debt, cleaning up this old, dilapidated, kind of children's-themed restaurant slash kind of amusement park. But what he doesn't know is he gets locked in there, and there is these kind of 8 mascot animatronic characters in there of various different kind of cartoonish looking things, and they are actually possessed by the spirits of evil serial killers that have a taste for human flesh. Add to the mix, you've got a group of teenagers that manage to get trapped in the building as well, and all hell breaks loose. So let's discuss. There's a line in this movie which pretty much directly is taken from the Watchmen movie and comic book. And it goes like this. He's not trapped in there with them, they're trapped in there with him. And that's kind of the mantra of the movie. So Nicolas Cage plays a complete badass. I've seen this kind of movie be compared to Pale Rider meets Five Nights at Freddy's. And you know, it's a completely off-the-wall movie. It is trying very, very hard to be a new cult movie. Maybe a little bit too hard, but we'll discuss. But nonetheless, this is certainly a weird and bizarre film. Now, Nicolas Cage does not utter one single word in this movie. And apparently that was the reason why he was attracted to this movie, because he always wanted to star in a silent horror film. Now, strictly speaking, this isn't a silent horror film because everyone else is talking. There's plenty of sound effects. But Nicolas Cage himself doesn't utter a word, which makes it for a very bizarre performance from him. But he loves that. Nicolas Cage loves a bizarre performance. But nonetheless, you do get this sense he's this strange kind of bizarre character, has these weird kind of character traits, like he always has to have a drink of this kind of fruit punch pop at a certain time. Kind of, there's lots of things that go on with him that are clearly just meant to go, ooh, that's a little bit of a strange thing that is never answered. So there you go. Nicolas Cage's character is just bizarre. It's quite fun though. Now, I guess this movie is pretty original, if I'm completely honest, because it's just wacky. And it is quite fun seeing Nicolas Cage giving the beat down to these kind of these animatronic characters, these weird, larger than life, spooky kind of looking Five Nights at Freddy's style animatronic animals and things like that. It's just a bunch of bizarre scenes, to be honest with this film. It is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun with lots of kind of like practical effects. It's tinged with a little bit of CGI touch-ups here and there, but the majority of effects here are practical, and they're kind of intentionally goofy, but I think it kind of works in the context of the film. And we are given some kind of backstory towards it with the kind of the peripheral characters and things like that, so we do get an idea about what's actually happening. And the whole film has a kind of horror comedy-esque sort of style to it, and it's pretty non-stop because we have quite a few of these animatronic things to kind of get through, and each one of them has a certain sort of gimmick, which is all kind of quite fun. And Nicolas Cage is just, even without speaking, I think he's a very interesting actor to watch in such a kind of fun and weird, bizarre, original project. To be honest, I think it does try a little bit too hard to be a cult film. I think cult films become cult films because they garner a particular audience, but they're not deliberately trying to become it, if you ask me. This film, I feel, definitely wants to become a cult film. And I think it tries a little bit too hard. Now, because we have Nicolas Cage not speaking, we don't really get that famed Nicolas Cage freak-out scene that I think he's sort of people come to expect from his films now. So we don't get that. There's a kind of a weird sequence where he's dancing, but we never get that kind of Nicolas Cage freak-out scene. There's a little bit too much exposition in this film. Because Nicolas Cage's character again doesn't speak, it's down to other characters to fill in the kind of the backstory, and this is done through a couple of exposition dumps. We do get kind of some visuals in the flashbacks and well, but maybe it relies a little bit too heavy on the exposition there. I don't know, because this movie is trying to be so unique, it almost becomes a little bit mundane at the same time in a weird way, because Nicolas Cage just seems to be this unstoppable force who's completely unflappable when faced with weird, bizarre, paranormal creatures and doesn't pretty much even blink from it. And the movie is deliberately vague in telling us why. In fact, it's not even vague, it literally doesn't say anything. But it becomes a little bit samey because of it. It's just Nicolas Cage giving the beat down to another character. Nicolas Cage giving the beat down to another character. And these things feel like they're made of eggshells at some point. And it makes you kind of question the storyline, because you can't really critique this movie for having a sensible story, because it just doesn't make sense. It's not meant to be a film that is taken seriously. But I feel that doesn't make it critic-proof, if that makes sense. I think that's the thing. It's like, oh, well, this movie's just a weird, funny, goofy film that you can't take seriously, and therefore you can't critique for it not making sense. And so it's just a little bit of a scene after scene of a fight scene without any real threat from these things. To be honest with you, we get the kids, these teenagers are cannon fodder, but Nicolas Cage just seems like the Terminator, to be quite honest. It's fun, it's stylish, it's quite cool and weird. It's got a great soundtrack, lots of kind of like blood and gooey effects. But I don't think it's quite as clever as it thinks it is. This is like a film that's designed to be a weird cult film, and rather than one that becomes that naturally over time. It's just like, yeah, let's make a completely bizarre, weird, off-the-wall movie just because, and we'll have Nicolas Cage in it, and people will just go, oh, it's so surreal, it's so kind of like, and it is, but it's designed to be like that way, so therefore you loses some of its charm in a certain way. But it is fun, it is goofy, it is just lots of kind of like funny visuals, but there's not a lot of meat on the bones. It's style over substance, this movie, but it's a fun style, and I will say, because it's such a weird and bizarre film, it does give it that kind of originality. So I'll give this one a 6 out of 10. I certainly don't think it's going to be for everyone, because I just think people will just be put off by, what am I watching? It's just a bizarre film with real kind of nothing to grasp onto. But just watch it for a visual treat, really, a little bit of fun and a little bit of turn your brain off. Just enjoy the bizarre Nicolas Cage movie. 6 out of 10, certainly a bizarre one, but props for kind of giving us something a little bit different. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.